What I'm going to show you here is how I do some simple paper repairs. You'll see with this particular page that there's some loss at the bottom of the page, and so I'm going to fill that to make that stronger, so it's better for when the book is read. The first thing to do is find some paper that's suitable. This is a laid paper, so I found some handmade laid paper that's similar. My belief in doing these repairs is the repair will always be visible. It's just part of the history of the book that these things get repaired. So it doesn't have to match in such a way that it's invisible, but it does need to be of similar style of paper. If the book is laid paper, the repair needs to be on laid paper, and it needs to be a similar kind of thickness. So I've got some handmade laid paper here, which I've had for a while, which is a reasonable sort of match. So I'm going to basically be using this to fill. Now there are a number of ways in which you can do this. When it's relatively simple like this, I find the easiest way is simply to put the paper, the new paper, underneath the page. Make sure the grain direction is the same, and then with the page below protected with a piece of card, I'm just going to, I think the term is needle out the shape that I require. I'm going to take it from here all the way around. So what I do is, with quite a sharp either needle or in this case awl, I'm just going to make a mark underneath the edge of the page. Now what the actual tip, the point of the needle is actually underneath the page edge, so that there will actually be an overlap. That's what I'm aiming for. So if we just take that away, I can see the shape that I've made. I'm now just going to go over it again a bit more firmly, because I'm going to tear this along this line. So if I didn't do this, it could be quite difficult to tear. So just quickly go around it again. Like so. And then I'm just going to tear that along that line. This gives it a sort of slightly furry edge, which is what we want. It's not so good if it's a sharp edge that's cut with a knife. It's a bit kind of too obvious, really. But this enables the fibres at the edge of the paper to help adhere the page to the page. So that's going to go on like so. Now I'm going to use a piece of silicone release paper. Actually, this paper is just the backing paper from self-adhesive labels that I print on a computer. I'm using that because then the glue won't stick to it. What I am going to do is use paste, not PVA. If I can find it, there we go. This is wheat paste. I tend to use prepared stuff that I buy from from Ratchford's, just because it's easier, but you can use any kind of decent wheat paste. Make sure I get the right orientation. And I'm just going to apply this to the edge, just the very edge, not a millimetre at most, on the piece that I've cut, all the way along. So all those furry fibres at the edge are getting glued. There we go. Make sure it's on all the length of the edge. And just apply that in position. So it's only overlapping by half a mil, something like that, not very much. Once you're happy with that, gently press. Just double check, looks okay. It looks a little weak at this point. I think maybe it's not gone on far enough, so let me just peel that back a little bit, overlap it a little bit more. There we go. Now the reason we use paste is because, particularly on old books like this, if at some stage in the future somebody wanted to remove this repair, they could do so because it's water soluble, so they can just apply water carefully and they'll be able to peel this away. So it's a conservation approach really. So when that dries, and it won't take long to dry, only 10-15 minutes probably, because there's not exactly a lot of paste on there, I would then trim that off to make that the same shape as the page. Now the alternative approach to this, and this can be useful if, for example, there's holes in the centre of a page, or if for some reason it's a bit difficult to access. Rather than using the approach I've just shown you, you can use this, which is a very thin light box effectively. It's just connected to the mains and will just slip underneath the page. Now the advantage of this is that, let me remove that bit of paper, is that it makes it really easy to see where you're actually going to be cutting your piece of paper or needling your piece of paper. Now we do this slightly differently. The new paper is going to go on top, so I'm protecting the book page with a piece of plastic, a piece of thin plastic, melamine. My new paper goes on the top like so, and I can see through the paper because of the light beneath exactly where the page edge is, so I can very easily trace along, again just on the inside of that edge to give it a very slight overlap. Like so. It's just a really nice way of being able to clearly see where you need to cut. Now this is it's actually much cheaper than you might think. I think this was about £30. I'm sure you'll find it if you look online. I don't use it a lot, but it is actually quite useful in some situations. So same situation then. I'm going to just go over this again a little more firmly to allow me to tear it in exactly the right place. Like so. Put a piece of silicone release paper underneath, like so, and that's going to just go onto there like that. Now, same as before. However, in this case, we've also got a tear just here. Now, sometimes tears slightly delaminate the paper, so you've got sort of an overlapping tear, which is great actually, because you can then just apply a little bit of paste to the overlapped area and just glue it in position and off you go. This one isn't really like that, it's more of a straight tear, so I'm going to mend that first before I put this on. And what I'm going to use, I've got some very thin Japanese, machine made, but Japanese tissue nevertheless, and this is it's about 7 grams per square metre. What I've done is cut slithers of it, and I've actually coloured these with very weak acrylic solution, so that it matches a little more the colour of the paper. So I'm just going to take a little strip of that, the length of the tear, and I'm going to glue this in position. Again, I'm going to use paste so it can be undone if somebody in the future ever wants to do that. And apply the glue, drop that on, like so, and rub it down. Although that's visible now, when that dries that will be much less visible. And so now I can apply this, get the orientation right. A little bit, oh, that's a bit much, a little bit along the edge. You don't want too much on, you don't want it squirting out all over the place. Just enough. There we go. So that just overlaps. Make sure it's positioned right. Yep, that's fine. Up down that edge. There we go. And again, when that's dried, I'll just trim off that edge with a scalpel. And those are paper repairs.